Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the M Word. My name is Robin. I'm the technical director here at Man and Machine in the UK. And as I say every week, it's a pleasure to have you with me this afternoon. Um, Firstly, things might be a little bit more delayed because my button box has broken. So if I press something, it doesn't work, which is really frustrating. So if it sounds like I'm shouting what to press over to the other side of the room subtly, it's because I am shouting what to press not so subtly over to the other side of the room. But hopefully you can see me, hopefully you can hear me, and we should be, other than maybe a little bit delayed here and there, we should be live for the next half an hour or so. So what I thought I'd do today is I can hear myself. Am I coming through a bit loud? Or is it okay? It's fine. Okay. It's just my voice, clearly. So what we're going to do today is actually focus on a product that we don't talk about that often. Every time we do these, we're kind of pushing the likes of Revit or Inventor or one of the more vertical Autodesk products. And sometimes we kind of leave good old vanilla AutoCAD behind because I guess there are more modern functions and features that certainly myself as a self-confessed geek want to push and want to talk about. But that doesn't mean that AutoCAD as an application and as a feature set doesn't still hold a really important part in both the construction and manufacturing workflows. And there's so many tools in there that people just don't necessarily know about or don't make use of. So I thought what I'd do today and maybe over the coming weeks ahead is just give AutoCAD a little bit of love and just go through some of the features that are maybe lesser used inside of the application. And today, specifically, I want to focus on something called data extraction. Now, what data extraction allows you to do is kind of self-explanatory. It extracts data from your DWG file, but you've got a number of controls in which you can tell AutoCAD what data you want to extract and how you want to extract it. So we'll have a little play with those tools today and show you how you can extract data and place it into a table on your drawing, or how you can extract data and link it out to an Excel file. And hopefully that gives you a workflow that certainly if you're using AutoCAD and DWGs within your day-to-day work, and you need to do some counting or extract some length or some values from an attribute, this should give you a really nice workflow that will allow you to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my camera smaller. And then once my camera is smaller, I'm going to share my screen. And without any delay at all, because we've got a button box that works really well, you can see my face in the corner and my screen. So here we are. I'm using full AutoCAD. I'm just plain old vanilla AutoCAD. But data extraction, you can use pretty much in any version of AutoCAD. I think it's also in AutoCAD LT. Ellie, perhaps you can do a little check for me while I'm presenting if data extraction is inside of AutoCAD LT as well as full AutoCAD. I'm pretty sure it is. So whatever version of AutoCAD, you'll be able to follow this process and work with. Doesn't matter if you're on AutoCAD Architecture or any flavored version of AutoCAD, but I'm sticking with good old plain AutoCAD. It's not, I eat my words, AutoCAD LT cannot do data extraction, so you have to have a full version of AutoCAD. And to start off with, if you've watched these, and I do try and air these, I say most Thursdays, it's not always most Thursdays, but we're going to get better at it. We do air these pretty much every Thursday, 2 p.m., same time. And as you'll know, if you've watched any of these before, I like to do an example that you can follow along. So I haven't got an all singing, all dancing data set made up with some demo candy in it. I'm looking at that camera, but I'm on this camera. I haven't got a load of singing or dancing demo candy looking great. I'm just going to use either a plain drawing or a sample drawing that you've got access to yourselves. And that will allow you to follow along and hopefully keep it really simple and really easy to understand. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to open this, maybe this floor plan sample here, which will open read only. If you don't have that on your recents, just go up to the file menu at the top, go down to open, go down to sample files down here, and then you'll be able to choose installed sample files and you'll find it in there. But I'm just going to open up the floor plan sample And I am going to open it up as read only. And in here, all I've got is a very simple floor plan. But the key to the example that I'm showing you is we do have a load of different blocks. And actually, this will give me my first good example of showing you how we work with this data extraction functionality. So all we're going to do first of all is just go through the process. And then I think what I'll do is I'll strip back the example and maybe go through it in a slightly similar way, a slightly simpler way, sorry. So the first thing we want to do is start the data extraction. And there's a few different ways in which we can do that. If we go to the table tool up here, we can come and say that I want to create a table from object data in the drawing. So for me, that's the easiest way to kick this off. If you're extracting data, the likelihood is you're going to want to place that into a table, whether that's in AutoCAD or in Excel. Really, your first port of call is going to be, let's just get that data out into the table. So go ahead and start an insert table. And from there, go and choose from object data in the drawing. From there, I'm going to press OK. You'll notice it grays out all of the other options. The reason it does this is because, well, it doesn't know what we're extracting. So it can't tell us how many columns or how many rows it's going to have because it's going to be dynamically generated from what you've got in your file. So press OK. And this will start the data extraction wizard, if you like. And this will just talk you through several pages. And on each page, it's going to ask you a series of questions to determine what it is that you want to put into this table. The great thing about these data extractions, which I've always liked, is the ability to save basically these next 8 or so pages of wizards. And they're saved into these data extraction files. We can create a new one here, or we can use an existing one. So I'm just going to say create a new data extraction. And I'm going to go ahead and save it on my desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as data extraction. And press save. And then what we're asked is, okay, well, what would you like this data extraction to run on? Because although I am sat within this floor plan sample, I've actually got the ability to say that I want to run this on a selected area of the drawing, an entire drawing, or even several different drawings in one folder or across a series of folders. So we can set up one data extraction within one file, but have that extracting data from this DWG, that DWG over there, and really whatever the size of your data set, we can handle that using the data extraction process. In here, I'm just going to say, do you know what, run it on this drawing for the purpose of today. It really doesn't matter. So just include the current drawing. You can go in and choose settings, and you can say that you want to specifically look at blocks. I do want to extract things if they are within an XREF, so on and so forth. I'm going to leave everything as default, and I'm going to go ahead and press next. This will look in the file that you've got open, in my case, this floor plan sample, DWG, and it's now going to give me feedback based on the objects that exist inside my drawing and the type of object that they are. And you'll see that probably unsurprisingly, we've got arcs, we've got circles, we've got lines, arcs, circles, squares. It's AutoCAD, right? So we're picking up base geometry, but it's also picking up on block geometry as well. So this is giving us a number of components that are either block-based or non-block based. And we can control and define what it is that we want to pull. And dependent on what we're pulling, it will give us different options and different pieces of data that we want to extract, which again is really, really nice. So what we've got on here is I'm just going to go and pick a couple of blocks for the purpose of this. So I'm going to deselect everything to begin with. So let's just go through and unselect everything. Wish it had a select all button. And then once everything has been deselected, I'm just going to look at all the blocks. So let's just stick all the blocks at the top. And down here, I've got a room number block, rmnum. And then I think somewhere there's a name tag. block. I think there was a name tag block, or I might be wrong. It might just be mtext actually from this perspective. So let's just pick up this room number block. Then against that room number, we can say I want to click next. And then this is going to look at that particular object. And against that object, it's going to show me, okay, here are all of the things that you could pull from that particular block. So in this case, I can pull a number of properties that exist in the block, and I can also pull attributes. And for me, this is the key here, is I can pull attribute block data from my drawing and stick it into a table, first and foremost, which on its own is really, really powerful. So looking at some of these properties, we've got author, we've got the block itself, the color, hyperlinks, keywords, so on and so forth. We also have layer. So because this is understanding that a block is on a layer and has attributes, you could even filter your extraction to be only things on a particular layer or a particular several layers, and we can start working with that data. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect a lot of these. You've got some filters on the right, so I can literally just say, do you know what? I just want to see the attributes in here, which are text-based attributes that are stored on that block. And I want to pull the number. I'm going to go ahead and press next. And then this is going to come in here and it's going to give me a list. So it shows me a count, a name of the block, and then my number, the number being my attribute. I want to combine rows that are identical. I don't want the count column because it's going to be 1 for everything. And we don't really need the name column, but I'm going to put it on there. And what this is doing is it's showing me the block name and then any attribute value that comes next to that block, which is great. I'm just going to go ahead and press next, say that I want to insert it into my drawing. Gives me a bit of a preview. I'm going to use the standard table style here. It's probably going to come in a little bit small. But if we just go next and finish, I'm going to place it over here. If I just select it, grab the table style that it's using, which is standard, let's just modify that table style to make it much bigger for the purpose of this. Let's go with text, oh horrible, inches, something like about 25. And then I'll tell you what, I'll leave it small rather than going in and editing those and making a mess of things. I'll leave it small. So what I have is an AutoCAD table that's basically showing me all of my room numbers. At the moment, pretty useless, right? But actually, imagine that your blocks are a little bit more intelligent and they've got a little bit more information on them. So if I come down here, these are my room number block. Okay, so this is what I've got. I've got a block that when I place that block, it's going to allow me to put in there the number of the room. So the way that works is I go to insert, I choose my room number block, which is there. I place it in and it will ask me what my room number is. The reason that works like that is because of the attribute that is assigned to the block. So if I grab this particular block here and choose to explode it, you'll notice that we have a piece of text here and that we have our rectangle with it. If I select the block and choose to edit the block using the block editor, yellow on grey is not great, we have, again, the rectangle and then our attribute, which is number. I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to stretch it down. I'm being very nondescript with the sizes, but I'm going to stretch that down and then I'm going to add a new attribute. To do that, if you've never done it before, we come up here and click attribute definition. This opens a little dialog box that looks like this, and then I can give that attribute a tag. I'm going to call it name. We can give it a prompt, for example, enter a name, and then I can give it a default. Again, I'm just going to put name in there. We can choose the text size, the justification, whether you want that to be invisible, so we can't see it in the drawing, but it's there and we can pull it. A constant value, so it's always the same, so on and so forth. I'm going to press OK, and I'm just going to choose to place that just down here, like so. So we've got our number and name, and then we've got our value there, which looks great. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to close it, and you'll notice that the blocks that I have here have all updated. Now, I'm not going to go through and make you watch me enter names for every single room, but what I am going to do is select a couple of these, and I'm going to add in information, because I've already got a piece of M text here, which is showing me the individual that sits in this room. So I'm going to select the block, and I'm going to type in my favorite command in AutoCAD, Batman, B-A-T-T-M-A-N, block attribute manager. And what that does is it allows me to pick up a block and start controlling the attribute values and changing them. Because I've already placed it, it's not going to prompt me for the attribute value. But by starting the block attribute manager, Batman, I can then say that I want to select a block. And against that block, I can start defining both the name and the number. And I can edit the values for that name and number. And I'm going to give it a value of Robin. Press apply, press OK. And you'll see it's put, I didn't want it to put my name in all of them, which is a little bit annoying. It's put my name in all of them, but then I can come in and change some of these. So let's put Bob in here. Let's put Sintra in here. I'm just going to do a few of these and Dan in here. As I start pulling this data through, I'm going to go back to my data extraction. So I've got this data extraction set up that's been pulling into this table. And I've got the ability to come in and look at this data extraction, and I can update it at any time. So I could say download from source, and it will re-download my data extraction. But what it's not going to do is understand that there's more attributes inside those blocks now. So I'm just going to go through the process again. So I'm just going to take this data extraction. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to insert another table. So home table from a data extraction, press OK. And this time I'm going to say use that existing data extraction that I set up and placed onto my desktop. Leave everything the same, still pick up my room name, but now I want both the name and the number attributes inside of my drawing. Let's just finish that off and place that down. Yes, we've got a load of duplicates called Robin because I pushed that attribute en masse to all of the individual blocks to update them. But you can see here the individual 6120 is Dan and 6124 is Sintra. And clearly they are the ones that are in the model. So we are live extracting data from our file. If I find room 6049, 6049 is here. So let's find 6049 and let's change the block here. This is Eric Washington. So let's put Eric's name in there. And against that name, I've just literally typed that in. Okay, so let's come back to our data extraction. Let's select our table like so. And then we're going to say that we would like to select the whole table, not just a cell. You can't just select an individual cell. Select the whole table and choose download from source. When you download from source, it should say, you can just about see that on the command line, one data link updated successfully. And if we have a little look through, we can see Eric Washington in room 6046 has been updated successfully. So we now have a, let's call it a live-ish link to the attributes within our file, which is actually really very useful. The other thing that we can do here is we've got all of these walls. So these lines are on the layer called EB_FIR. Why they're on EB_FIR, I don't know, but they're on EB_FIR. So I'm going to create a final data extraction using a table. From a data extraction, press OK. Creating a new one. Let's call it data2. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to pull geometry. So don't display all object types, just display non-blocks. I only want to have in here lines. Press next. And then from here, I only want to see the geometry length. Now this is quite a far-fetched scenario because I'm not the author of this file. I don't know the quality of the drawing. I don't know if there's several lines sat on top of one another, so on and so forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the length of each and every line that I have. Let's also put the layer in there, sorry. So let's also choose the layer. So the layer and the length. And then in here, I have a list of all of those lines, all of their lengths in imperial rather than metric, which is going to confuse me because my brain only works in metric. We don't want the count column, and we don't really want the name column. But then on the layer column here, we've got the ability to start looking at what we've got. This is just including every line at the moment. So I'm going to come in and say sort column options. We can say that we want the layers ascending or descending. We can control them in any way, shape, or form that we want to. But I can also come in and start filtering them. So if I right-click on these columns, I can also filter the data extraction. And I could say filter based on a piece of text. So the name of the name of the layer might be XYZ, or it might contain the name wall, or whatever it might be. We can really be quite nondescript in here and really control this in any way that we want to. Here's my EB_FIR. I'm going to press OK. And what this will do is it will filter, so it's only showing me those lines. If I press next and I say input into the drawing, I'm going to say next again, leave everything as it is, and just hit finish. I now have a list of every single line inside of my file and the length. So if you've got a really accurately placed slab in an architectural drawing, you could get the perimeter of that slab and start looking at, okay, well, if I've got several slabs and they're all polylines, I can very quickly get the perimeter value for every one of those, or the area value, or whatever it might be, and start doing things with it. Because this is a table, we can also start adding columns to here. So although I've got a data extraction, it's just an AutoCAD table. And with that table, I can come in and insert cells to the left, I can insert cells to the right, and I can start doing things like have calculations in here. It works just like Excel. So I can come down the bottom here, I can insert a row below, and then in that row, you'll notice it doesn't have those green marks around them. It's not included within the data extraction, but it is at the bottom, which is great because I can add and amend and change this row without affecting the data extraction above. And then when you're in here, I can basically just start working with this in any way, shape, or form. Let's just unlock this cell. And then in here, it works similar to Excel. If you can use Excel, you'll be able to use this. But you can add formula in here. You can start doing this as you will. So I've just said, go ahead and add a formula. It's put in a sum for me. So let's just say this is A1 to A1666 as a sum. And then let's just make that column a bit bigger, or should I say a lot bigger. Let's just drag that out. Not quite like that, Robin. Let's drag that out and try and look at that value. It's not calculating it. It's probably my mistake there. But you can start adding some calculations in there and start adding some sums and get it to start giving you feedback. So we've got two things there that are really quite beneficial. Number one, within reason, you can extract anything from your drawing in AutoCAD onto a table. Those tables can very quickly be pushed out into Excel, either from the data extraction wizard itself, or just by grabbing the table and working with the table and extracting that out to Excel. Really straightforward. The other thing you've got the ability to do is start using that to your advantage. So if you've got blocks with attributes in, you can use those to start pulling. If you're a manufacturer and you've got blocks with manufacturing information against them, like part numbers, or it's a piece of sheet metal and you've got the thickness associated to the block, we can start pulling that information and build simple BOMs. If you're architectural or construction, we can start building simple quantities. It does depend very much on the quality and the accuracy of your drawings. But fairly quickly, certainly within a handful of minutes, we're able to extract information from our files live and without any problems at all. And really, that's kind of all I wanted to show. It's very accessible. Hopefully you've with these examples seen, okay, I can extract data. And if just a few of you go and have a play with that and go, crumbs, do you know what? We had someone before that was coming in and having to manually count these. We can do that with the data extraction. As long as you don't have blocks over blocks over blocks and things like that, then it's going to be accurate. And you might have blocks overlaid to show that you've got vertical stack of those blocks in a 2D space. But as long as that's okay, the calculation is going to tell you that, well, hey, you've got 3 of those filing cabinets sat on top of each other, and these are the different attributes from each one of those filing cabinets. So really powerful. It's been in AutoCAD, feels like forever. It's not quite forever. It was early 2000s, I think it went in there. But really useful tool. Have a play with it if you haven't. And as always, give us some feedback and just let us know what you want to see on these videos. If this has been interesting, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We've got a whole range of other videos on our YouTube channel that cover AutoCAD, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, Revit, Enscape, Inventor, Navisworks. Generally speaking, if it sits within the Autodesk ecosystem or touches the Autodesk ecosystem, we talk about it. So check out our channel and by all means drop us a message and let us know what you want to see next time round. And with that, it kind of brings today's session to a close. I wish you a productive rest of your week and a good weekend ahead. And until next time, take care.